Hello, everyone. Welcome to African Women in the Diaspora with me, Ngozi Jason. It's the month of March. Who knows what March is about? Yes, you guessed it. The International Women's Month. Actually, the actual date is tomorrow, Saturday, the 8th of March. That's the actual date. But today is the day that I'm recording this episode. So I just thought to, of course, talk about women. This show, after all, is about women. So I'm incorporating the theme for this year's International Women's Day into today's episode. The theme for this year is accelerating action. And I know that the theme is regarding the world, the nations, organizations accelerating their action towards, as in speeding their action towards gender equality and everything that has to do with gender parity and all that. While that is good, that is great in fact, because for what I have read, it said that if nations, if organizations continue at this rate, then gender parity or equality would not be the way it's supposed to be until, I think, 2158, 5 generations from today. And that is why we have the theme for this year, accelerating action. While that battle is being fought, I just thought to just come down and talk about it on a personal level, because I believe that change is made starting with yourself. If you make a change with yourself first, then it's easy for you to help another person to make a change with themselves, and then the two of you can help someone else, and then it goes on, and I think that makes it faster. I can't go to the UN to go and fight or not fight, we'll talk about gender parity and equality at the UN, or go to some of these big organizations. But with this podcast, we can cause a change one woman at a time. This theme also resonates with me because you can accelerate action with yourself first. Personally, there's little things, and I just wrote them down, so bear with me. Let me look at what I wrote down. All right. So, reflecting on the current state of things, like I said earlier, that research has found out that if organizations and nations, countries, whoever, if the change continues, the change they are currently making continues at this pace, we will not get to the level where we need to get as women until 2158. This is 2025. So 2158, 5 generations from today. So, but what can we do while we're still doing what we're doing out there? What can we do with ourselves? Remember that this podcast is for immigrant African women or immigrant women of African descent. This show helps you to thrive in your adopted countries rather than survive, because I noticed that that's what's happening in the African community, especially amongst the women. We just want to thrive. We just want to survive. Go do your first shift, come back, go do your second shift. I know somebody who goes to work in the morning, comes back in the afternoon, picks up her children from school, drops them at home, and she's off to work again in the evening. She comes back early hours of the morning, sleeps for about 3 hours, and she's off again. Maybe her husband takes the children to school in the morning, and then she's off again, and then it continues and it continues. What kind of life is that? I want immigrant women of African descent to know that it is possible to thrive in their adopted countries. It's possible to, even as a first generation immigrant, to do so well that the world will notice you, that your adopted country will notice you and recognize your contributions to their country. So I want you, everyone listening, you listening to this podcast today, to just sit down and take an audit. Take an audit of where you are right now and where you want to be. Where are you right now? Do you enjoy the job you're doing today? Are you happy with it? If you're happy with it, great. If you're not happy with it, then what else do you want to do? Sometimes when I ask women, what exactly do you want to do? They don't know. They don't know. Or rather, they say they don't know. But if they would sit down and ask themselves the right questions, they would know what exactly they want to do. So for you to know what you want to do, get your book or get your journal. I have my journal. I have a journal called Write It, Ngozi, written by Ngozi Jason. If you want this journal, just go to Amazon. You'll find it on Amazon. So go to get your journal and then start to write. Ask yourself, what do I like? What do I enjoy? What makes me happy? What gives me joy? What am I passionate about? Sometimes some people say they're not passionate about anything. Okay. But when you ask yourself, what do you like? What do you enjoy? What gives you joy? What did you say you were going to be when you were a child? When I was a child, I wanted to, of course, as a child, as an African child, I first wanted to be a doctor, but I quickly changed that. Before I got to secondary school, I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. I wasn't just interested in being a doctor. But at some point, I wanted to be a newscaster. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to help people. Those were the three things I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to be a newscaster. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to help people. I wanted to teach, but I didn't want to be a teacher. I knew I wanted to teach, but I did not want to be a teacher. Now, today, I've traveled to different countries. I really, really enjoy traveling. I'm doing this podcast. I go live on social media regularly. So, I'm a broadcaster of some sorts. And I'm teaching. And my writing has taken me places and helped me meet lots of people. So, what are the three questions? 1, ask yourself, what gives you joy? What do you enjoy doing? What are your natural talents? And 4, what did you want to be as a child? Going back to your childhood and asking yourself questions about your childhood always helps to sort out the challenges or the questions that you may have for yourself as an adult. Write down these things in your journal. Write down these questions and then answer the questions in your journal. So 1 tool you can use to help yourself to accelerate action this year is by journaling. You can journal for emotional well-being and journal for clarity and productivity. These are the things that will help you to accelerate action this year. Another thing that I wrote is, what are your biggest challenges? What are your biggest challenges? For me, my biggest challenge is finding the time to do everything that I want to do in a day, in a week, in a month. As an immigrant woman of African descent, it's been very challenging for me. Back in Africa, we always have help. There's always someone to help. It's maybe your mother or your mother-in-law, your relatives, your younger ones, your younger cousins, sometimes neighbors, sometimes getting paid help. It's not difficult getting paid help in Africa. It's not as difficult in Africa as it is in Europe, Canada, Australia, and the US. And it's even when you get the paid help, it's not as expensive in Africa as it is here. So moving to the UK, finding myself having to go to school full-time, do my work, my job part-time, and then also have time for my writing, for my creativity, my writing, my podcasting, going live on Facebook, and my my other business. I have an affiliate marketing business that I do. Adding that to taking care of my children, being a good wife, doing domestics like cleaning my home, going shopping, grocery shopping, cooking. It was a lot. It is still a lot. It is still a lot. And I'm the kind of person, and I know that most women are like me, we don't thrive in chaotic environments. And when I say chaotic environment, like if my home is not clean or untidy, it's chaotic. I find it difficult to work. I find myself getting frustrated, irritated, angry even. I'm not able to think. I'm not able to work effectively when I know that there's a place or there are places that need to be cleaned in my home, or there's food to be cooked, or there's a place that needs to be tidied up. It's difficult for me. So that's one very big challenge for me. Finding the time to do everything I need to do in a day. So what about you? What is your challenge? What are your goals and aspirations? For me, one of my goals and aspirations is time freedom. I'm looking forward to when I'll be able to pay somebody regularly. I do pay someone to come clean my house from time to time, but because they are so expensive, I don't do it as often or as regularly as I want to. So one of my goals and aspirations is to get someone to come clean my house regularly, at least every 2 weeks. At least every 2 weeks. Then so that means the person will come twice in a month, and the rest of the time my family and I we can handle the rest of the time. So if they clean twice a month, then we can clean twice a month too, or more, because I like to clean my bathroom like 2-3 times a week. But that'll be easy because I already have a professional doing the bulk of the work, so I don't really need to do much. So that's one of my goals, to be able to afford somebody to come clean my house regularly, so I can free enough time. I will have enough free time to do things that really matter to me, like this podcast, for example. Another thing I like to do, I would like to have someone come cook for me from time to time. Call somebody who knows how to cook different kinds of food, not just African food, because I like to try out different kinds of food. So have someone who can come clean and cook for us, maybe like once a month or twice in a month. That also frees time up for me to do things that I enjoy doing and things that I really need to do. So that's one of my goals. Another goal and aspiration I have is to travel more. I want to travel more. I want to go to different parts of the world. This has always been my dream for many, many years. And I want to take advantage of my living in the United Kingdom to travel to so many places that would have been more challenging for me to travel to living back in Africa. Right. So, like I said earlier, I hope you're writing all these things down. Get your journal, get a notebook. It doesn't have to be a fancy journal. And if you want something fancy, like I said, go get this. It's on Amazon. Write it by Ngozi Jason. This is the journal. You can see this is a journal, and it also has a book that will teach you, about journaling, how you can journal for clarity and productivity. It's a small book, very easy to read. I don't know if you can see the fonts. The fonts are quite big, they're quite large. Very easy book to read. Very, very easy. You can read this book in 1 hour, but it's a book that I encourage everyone who gets it to read over and over and over again to get the input. All right. So, that's it. Journaling first. First start with journaling. And what journaling will help you do is to get clarity of mind. And then journaling will help you to visualize. That's another tool that I teach my clients. I teach my clients to visualize. You first start by writing down, asking yourself certain questions, then writing down the answers to those questions. And then the answers to those questions will lead you to visualize what you want your life to look like. Now remember that I said earlier that the theme for this year's International Women's Month is accelerating action. And I talked about how the theme came up generally because people wanted the world to accelerate action, to speed up what they need to do to help their commitment to gender equality. But so while that is being done, on our own personally, what can we do to help ourselves? So the first thing I said is to journal. And I've given you certain questions to prompt you while you're journaling. And then the answers to those questions will now lead you to visualize what you want your life to be like. So you see the picture, you close your eyes and you see the picture. Like I said, for me, I like to be able to pay somebody regularly to come clean my house. So I'll picture somebody else cleaning my house while I'm here doing this podcast, going live and doing the things that I really, really enjoy doing. The second thing is I said I want to travel the world. I want to travel more than I have been doing this last few years, especially since 2020. Between 2020 and this year, the only travel that I've done just within the UK. Just within the UK, which is not something I'm happy about. So I want to travel more. And I've written that down in my journal. So I'm visualizing myself, at the airport with my children, with my husband, giving them our passports and them stamping our passports, and we go passing through immigration and going to stay in a nice hotel in another country and enjoying ourselves, having a fabulous family holiday. We haven't had a family holiday since 2019, 6 years. And before 2020, every year we always had a family holiday outside the country every year. So that's it. Journaling will lead you to visualization. And then the next two is affirmation. So after you're done journaling, which leads you to visualizing, the next thing is affirmation. You will write down things that will help you to achieve what you saw in the picture while you were visualizing. For example, if one of your goals is to make money this year, how much money do you want to make this year? Maybe you want to make, say, $200,000 this year. That's what you want to make, $200,000. Or, $200,000 this year. Then you will need to, if you want to make $200,000 this year, how much would that mean you have to make every month? So 2 months have passed now. We only have 10 months left. That means that you want to make £20,000, $20,000. Sorry, I live in the UK, so that means you need to make $20,000 every month. Now, what are the things you need to do to be able to make that $20,000 every month? You write them down. Do you have products you can sell? Do you have services you can sell? Is there a business that you want to start that can help you? Is there a particular kind of job that can help you? You write it down. Then you can write affirmations like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Or I'm able to do anything I set my heart to do. Things like that. Write them down and then read them to yourself every day. Read them to yourself every day. That's one. Sorry, something was trying to get. All right. Now, after you're done journaling, I always like to repeat myself. One of my mentors says repetition is the law of deep and lasting impression. So I always like to repeat myself. Just in case your mind wandered at some point, which happens while I was talking. Remember, we're talking about accelerating action. And we're looking at things that we can do to accelerate action for ourselves in our lives, both personally or in our profession or in our finances, wherever, or personally or professionally. So the first thing we said we're going to do is to journal. And I've given you 4 questions that you can ask yourself while you're journaling. What do you like doing? What do you enjoy doing? What brings you joy? How do you see your future? Right? How do you see your future? What did you want to be as a child? Write these things down, and then the answers. As you write the questions down, then you write the answers. The answers will now lead you towards visualization. These are tools that I use for myself because they say a good coach will always coach themselves first. So I've used this for myself, I've used it for my clients, and they work. So journaling leads you to visualization. From visualization, you're now able to write certain affirmations that you repeat to yourself every time. Well, not every time, at least twice a day. First thing in the morning. A lot of times when we wake up in the morning, the first thing we do is to pick up our phones. So, but I want to encourage you, please, when you wake up in the morning, don't pick up your phone first. After you're done praying, then you do this affirmation exercises. And when you're saying these affirmations, I want you to include all your senses. All your senses. First of all, these affirmations, you say them quietly to yourself, then you say them loudly to yourself. When you're saying them loudly to yourself, listen to yourself. Don't just mouth words. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself as if someone else were talking to you. Let the words make sense to you. Let it be like maybe you're in church and your pastor is preaching, or you're at an event, maybe at a TED talk, and then someone is saying something that makes sense to you and you're paying rapt attention. So affirmations or declarations, actually I call them declarative affirmations, because you're saying these words with authority and you're listening to yourself. As you listen to yourself, you are getting excited. You are getting excited. So you're including all your physical senses. You're using your mouth, you're talking, you're using your ears, you're listening, you're getting excited, you're getting your emotions involved in it. And you're using your eyes as well, because you wrote them down, so you're looking at them. You know, let's say you type them in your phone, but I actually recommend writing them out with pen and paper. Why? Because there's scientific evidence that there's a relationship between, writing your pen on paper and your brain. I'm not a scientist, so I can't really share that research with you, but go check it out. Scientists have proven that there's a relationship between writing with your pen on paper and your brain. So I recommend writing down these affirmations every single day. And you don't have to have so many affirmations. You can just have maybe 1, 2, 3, not more than 5. Not more than 5 a day. Every day, write them down. Write them down first. Then read them silently. And then read them out loud. As you're reading them out loud, you're listening to yourself. And as you're reading them out loud, read them authoritatively. Read them like someone, like a teacher, like an expert who knows exactly what they are talking about. Read them like I said, like when you go to church and you're listening to your pastor preaching. You know your pastor knows what he or she is talking about. Or when you go to an event, maybe a conference like a TED Talk, and the person who is speaking, you trust that for the person to be there, the person must be an expert of some sort. The person must know what they're talking about. So when you're reading those affirmations, read them like someone who knows what they're talking about, like an expert, and listen to yourself. And then as you're listening to yourself, you're getting excited. That part is not forced. Initially, I must warn you, when you start doing this, it may not feel like anything much is happening. If that is your experience, don't get discouraged. Don't quit. Don't give up. Just continue with it. Keep at it. First thing in the morning when you wake up, last thing at night, just before you go to bed. Do this consistently. You'll see a change. And then something else you can do, mirror exercises. So when you're saying these affirmations, stand in front of a mirror. If there's no mirror around you, just go to the use the camera on your phone. Use the video of your camera or just the photo of your camera and just look at yourself. The aim is to look at yourself. Look into your eyes. Speak with authority and listen to yourself as you're making these affirmations. Another thing I would maybe I'll say the next. I think there are two more. I've said talk about journaling. I've talked about visualization. I've talked about affirmations. I've talked about mirror exercises. Okay, let me talk about the last one. The last one is prayer. People see prayer as a religious thing, and some people don't believe in prayer. If you don't believe in prayer, then just drop it. But if you believe in prayer, listen to me. Prayer is not a religious thing. Prayer is a tool. Excuse me. Prayer is a tool that you can use. Why? Because you have goals, you have dreams, you have aspirations. A lot of times, our goals, our dreams, and our aspirations are things that we generally don't think we're able to achieve. And I've heard people say that if your dream is something you can easily do, then that's not a dream. Make your dream something as difficult, so difficult for you that you know you need divine help for you to be able to achieve it. And that's where prayer comes in. That's where prayer comes in, because you need divine intervention for you to be able to achieve your dream. So prayer is a tool. Prayer is not a religious exercise. It's a tool that helps you connect with a divine being, with the divine being, with the divine being. Prayer connects you with that divine being, and he helps you to achieve that dream. Sometimes what you thought you wanted, through prayer you find out that thing you want is not actually what you really want. That thing you thought you wanted is not actually what you really want. Or sometimes through prayer you find that the way you thought you were going to achieve that dream won't really be helpful to you. You now have to change the method that you initially wanted to use. So I talked about 5 things: visualization, journaling, visualizing, affirmation, mirror exercise, and prayers. These are 5 things that if you do consistently every day, you will accelerate your growth as a woman, especially an immigrant woman of African descent. Whatever, you can use these tools, whatever. You can use it in your personal life, in your relationship with anybody, your co-workers, your spouse, your children, your siblings, your parents, anybody. You can use it in your profession. You can use it in your career. You can use it in your business. Whatever goal you want to achieve, these tools will help you. And if you need more help on how to use journaling for clarity and productivity and to reach your dreams, go get this book. Write it. This is the revised edition. It's on Amazon. Just search for Write It by Ngozi Jason Nwadinobi on Amazon. You will see it. Like I said, it's a small book. It's less than 100 pages. Very easy to read. Has large fonts. You can use it and get to know better. And if you need more hand holding, feel free to send me an email at ngozijason1@gmail.com. That's ngozijason1@gmail.com. And I want to use this opportunity to thank Ngozi Jason LLC for sponsoring today's episode. Ngozi Jason LLC is it's a coaching and consulting company that works with individuals, works with companies and organizations to help the people to have a better mindset that will help them into productivity, into becoming more productive in anything that they are doing. Ngozi Jason also especially helps women. So That's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, like I said, please feel free to reach me on ngozijason1@gmail.com. Ask me your questions and I'll be glad to help. And if you need to be coached, if you want to work with me, also send me a mail at ngozijason1@gmail.com. Feel free to go to my website at ngozijason.com for more information that you require. And share your thoughts, your reflections and actions on social media using the hashtag accelerating action. So that's all I have for you today, and I will see you next week. Remember, mindset matters, perception is everything. You're supposed to thrive in your adopted country and not just survive. Thank you. See you next time. Toodaloo.